Today, another exciting session lays ahead of us. So, without any further delay, allow me to introduce the keynote speaker for this session, Dr. Nidhi Pundhir, the Vice President, Global CSR at HCL Foundation. She specializes, welcome, ma'am. Ma'am, okay. Are you okay with giving the address in another 2 minutes?
Yes, but I'll still need to do it from my cab because need to reach somewhere, which was not on
It's
my.
okay, ma'am. It's perfectly fine. I'll just introduce you to our audience and then you can go ahead. So, Dr. Pundir has already joined us. She specializes in international humanitarian services and socio-economic environmental development. In her illustrious career spanning 25 years, she has led impactful programs for the most disadvantaged and isolated communities around the world. Dr. Pundir has traveled to almost 40 countries in her pursuit towards social and environmental development. And it's an honor to have her with us today. She would be speaking on sustainability and climate action, the dreams and the realities. So once again, welcome, Dr. Pundir. You can now have your address.
Right. Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible, and please
You
excuse
are.
me for a little disturbance because
Thank you for joining us despite your schedule. I understand that, and doing this address from your car, but please go ahead.
yeah, I mean, this journey was not on plans when I accepted the invite, but it has to be done now. So thank you. And it's always a great privilege to be invited by the CSR Universe young team. And it's always extremely exciting to interact with all of you who are trying to, I would say, give an analytical view of what's happening in the sector and bringing these pertinent topics to, I would say, larger audience who are willing to engage and learn. And the topic today, again, sustainability and climate action, the theme and reality is again a very, very important topic and pertinent topic. And I can see how practitioners are trying their level best dots and to see how we can rather utilize this opportunity. Several, I would say, the traction today have towards the sustainability agenda, but how practitioners are trying to utilize this opportunity to actually ensure that this is done through pragmatic projects which are visible on ground and which make a difference. So, with that context, let me share some insights as to how at HCL Foundation we try to bring certain practices alive on ground, and how a team of very passionate professionals with qualifications in this field have been able to put up projects which are making a very, I would say, meaningful difference. But before that, let me just kind of make certain comments that how, I would say sustainability is a very big term. So is climate action. And there's so much where we can really get confused about real action. And it's critical for us to understand what is it that we mean by these terminologies and how they're defined in different contexts. Because if I can actually guarantee, if you did a survey amongst 100 professionals about their understanding of uh, sustainability and their understanding of climate actions, you'll be surprised to see various connotations and various interpretations of these terms. And especially if you ask them that what are the actions that can be taken, again there'll be a list of different kinds of activities which would emerge. So I am not going to go by the book definition, but largely how we understand sustainability is anything which will not further harm, which any action that we take, be it in our personal lives or professional lives, is it something which is being done without taking away or without harming the nature, the ethics, the larger human rights, environmental rights, animal rights agenda? Or is it something which has a very different motto, profits without ethics? I think that's where the distinction becomes critical. And anything which is done with ethics at the center, and anything which is done with an impact which takes care of other aspects, is bound to be sustainable. So that's where I think sustainability is more than just new world terminology. Rather, it is an old world terminology, but it has got a lot of traction in the recent past. Is beyond activities. It's a value. It's a value which is intrinsic uh, within corporates, which need to be intrinsic within any institution for that matter, and something that really needs to percolate from personal level to professional levels and vice versa. So I think that's sustainability in a nutshell. And of course, there are several matrices, and there is a lot of mathematics that one can get into. And in the context of corporate social responsibility, again, we see that there's a lot of mix up happening between what needs to happen under CSR and what needs to happen under ESG, and what is the ESG agenda and what is the CSR agenda. I would please request the slides to be on hold. I'm just highlighting them in a while. But then, the larger, of course, when we talk about the ESG, and there is more and more discourse, at least in the Western part of the world, that do we still keep assets social, or do we keep assets stewardship, to provide the right kind of examples and right leadership within corporates. What we're talking about when we talk about ESG, which does have a materiality kind of matrix quite well defined. And now I see many professionals, auditors, very clearly laying out matrices in terms of environmental practice. For examples, do we recycle our water? Do we conserve water? How much plastic do we use? What is our carbon credit data? What is our the kind of material that we use? Is it reusable? Is it recyclable within our business? Etc. I mean, that's what we are talking about at an industry level, at a business level. And the stewardship, the S part of it, or social part of it, is also within the corporate environment. It is not something that we work with or do with communities. Eventually they are connected, but the control environment of a corporate, where you can actually influence, be it wage parity, the gender ratio, people living with disabilities, the human rights framework, how is that applied to employees, welfareistic approaches. That's the S part of it. And G is where the governance, the clean governance practices, hygiene practices, and how they are kind of linked with climate action. Of course, if we look at the larger workforce, the world, how it revolves around industries, definitely they affect the climate at large. But going back to CSR, CSR is very much what is it that we do outside of the vested interest of the business, is what mainly defines corporate social responsibility. That irrespective whether business will gain in terms of any form of capital, we still do community and environmental upliftment, is where CSR becomes quite distinct and different from ESG. It definitely complements ESG for sure, but then it is not ESG. I mean, that's what I just want to make it very clear. I think I have spoken on this very forum about this distinction, and I'm making it again clear, and that is critical, especially for the audience here. So everything will fall in the larger sustainability framework, and this does have impact on climate. Whatever we do with our CSR initiatives outside of the company, outside of the business parlance, or whatever we do inside, each action at individual, company level, professional level is connected with climate. Now, coming to the dream and realities, I'll quickly just, if it's could move on, just what is happening at HCL Foundation, and then how the action itself is quite, I would say, challenging. If you start building this agency within your company. So go ahead. Let me refer to a few slides here and share some examples on how dreams can be converted to reality, rather than how the two are very different. That's the scale and span of HCL Foundation. Today we have presence across the country, and you can see that extremely impactful environmental data. So the first thing is that, are we as CSR professionals, while within the ESG, a lot of materiality analysis and matrices are coming together, but as within our CSR frameworks also, are we measuring our climate action impact separately from the human benefits? That's important, because unless we measure it separately and without any, I would say, uh, we should forget while measuring the climate action impact whether humans will benefit eventually. They will surely benefit, but unless we measure the output level and outcome level impact as environment, as nature, that's important. So at least we have very clearly begun to put out that data, be it in form of water harvesting data, and we are getting it validated by external organizations. That's very important, because something that we say and something which gets validated, uh, uh, it does have a credibility. So you can see that within last 4 or 5 years, close to 58 billion liters of water has been conserved, for which Government of India recently conferred the the best industry practice award to HCL Tech. And these are all coming from, I would say, evidence-based, innovation-based work on ground, in terms of conservation of rivers, water bodies, ponds, various kinds of initiatives going on. Something which we can say is a reality, a dream turned into reality. I think 5 years ago, 4 years ago, when we were just thinking about all of that, these were all at dream stage, and we were like, look at the state of these neglected water bodies, look at whether community will partner with us, whether state is going to give us any hand. But today, these are flourishing models of public-private partnerships, where state is taking equal responsibility, communities and corporates have come forward. Similarly, we keep hearing about afforestation, lakhs and lakhs of saplings each monsoon season, but then when we want to go to the reports, we hardly find any data which talks about survival. So my, again, urge to corporates and implementing partners on ground is that when you put out your data, please put it out not as how many saplings you planted, but how many survived. Because it's rather harmful if we just take some patches of land and clean it up and put some saplings there without going back and ever checking what happened. So I can proudly say that we have, greened almost 66,000 acres of land, and which has been brought under community management. Now, this is a critical step here, because again, going back to sustainability, how long can state take care of, or how long can any corporate? It's important that communities' participation and ownership. So that's what we mean by green management by communities. So this is very, I would say, impressive data by itself. But then, of course, there is more to do. But even then, we've been able to bring out more than 18% of our CSR budget, which has gone on environment. So here, another point I want to make it is that it's critical to define environmental action, because we are also seeing a lot of illusion and disillusioned kind. I mean, it's like any anything will not count as climate action or environmental conservation. You need experts to give those definitions. You do need to really measure biodiversity, your carbon impact, your water harvesting impact, your survival data of the within that. It's just not any afforestation or any saplings, native species, the soil testing, the kind of impact conservation work may have. Is it reversing the climate? So you really need to follow the path. So from dream to reality, what I want to say is that it can happen. It has happened, as you can see on our own dashboard, but it has taken us extremely meticulous design level thinking. And it has taken us, again, I would say, a team of professionals and partners, and taking that bold step that we will measure impact and put it out in public domain and share the best practices after we have provided proof of concept. And that's what you see on the dashboard. Going ahead, let me share some kind of practices which we have in our own parlance. So you can see, of course, the law is definitely now very open and talking about that we can invest in conservation and mitigation, resilience work. And of course, the Sustainable Development Goals are quite vocal about it. That's another pathway that's clearly defined. If we go ahead, please. The slides. So this is about the National Water Award that I was talking about, which was recently conferred. And how one can actually conserve, make one dream. So again, we often as citizens, we would pass by a water body, we would look at, oh, this is the state of despair. But what is it that we can do about it? I would welcome anyone who's interested to come and see that it is possible to revive, it is possible to dream. And if bunch of youngsters from college, school children, people like, in the audience, it's not necessary that we would need a big CSR initiative. It is very doable kind of work at a community level. And once they start seeing the benefit, and once they start seeing simple beauty that these water bodies can bring about, they get charged and they want to do more of it. So even smaller steps like this are enough. You can see the participation of young children there, and how at the end of the day, it's all about happiness, because we see waste all over. We see, pollution, air quality going bad. And another piece of advice here is we should never be doing just water work or just afforestation work or just one side, because it's so connected. If you're talking about dust pollution or any kind of, you got to be doing both together. So how do we really distribute our resources across strategies which would work on ground in order to turn this dream into reality is also critical. At this point, let me show you, I think it's on the slide, whoever is moving, a little video which was recently made by the ministry when the award was conferred, and that kind of gives you a little bit of deeper insight into how this work is functional on ground. Is there an audio? We can't hear the audio, please. You may have to start it again with the audio.
I would request you have to start it again.
Yes, tech team, please start it again. Tech team, can you please stop running the video and play it again?
You can close the video and replay it.
There is no audio.
Seems to be a problem. One is the audio.
I hope tech team is not on mute. Does that affect the video?
It could be.
Okay, you're unable to play it?
We can play it, but I think the audio is not, we're not able to hear the audio.
Tech team who can just help if they are on the
where they're trying. Team, are you on mute? You can unmute yourself and maybe that would affect.
Right. Let's go ahead then. I'm just in the interest of time, if you're unable to play it. It's a good video, but nevertheless. So I just wanted to kind of say that, these are bigger challenges. I mean, very, very big challenges. Are you still trying to play or? Let's see. You can get the audio. No.
No, it's not.
Leave it. So,
please leave it, tech team. Please leave it. Please move on to the next slide, please.
So I think the fundamental aspect was that when the national award happened and the ministry got involved, they were also looking for models where these dreams have been converted into reality or where you can actually see evidence. And I think that was fundamental reason, and they did do a good due diligence about what exactly has happened. And this is one of the biggest needs if we look at the water situation. So the climate action agenda is so huge that it's critical that we unpack it. It's critical that we find out the feasible aspects of what is possible for us, given the kind of resources that we have. We also look at our own capabilities and continuity in action, because often what I'm seeing is, at least within my own experience, that there is this whole flood of initiatives or flood of, it is like a fad which would come that let's do this thing today, and then 2 months later or a year later, those initiatives are forgotten. That is actually something which can really it's harmful and unethical as professionals or as any institution taking those decisions, because imagine the kind of resource that gets deployed when an initiative is thought about, and the kind of human time, resource time it takes, and all kinds of financial resources it takes. So I would highly advise that to professionals here listening and the larger audience, that don't be carried away by something today and then forget it tomorrow. So whenever you look for something, continuity in action is critical. And none of these projects will give you impact just within like 6 months or 1 year time. These interventions do take time. You can clean a water body, for example, within a seasonal cycle, but then you got to work with the communities around. You got to sustain it. Need to work, wait and watch the kind of biodiversity pattern it has. So these are longer term interventions and do need a lot of, I would say, loyalty to our own ideas or to our own dreams when you want to convert them to reality. So pick up something which really matters and where one can make a difference. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect, which again from sustainability, which I think I did touch upon, but let me say that again, that without citizens' action and without citizens' governance and citizens taking responsibility, most of these initiatives will just fail. So be it young adults, be it people within the community, that why are they so not concerned? We have a very unique intervention as HCL Foundation on solid waste management, which is part of our Clean City initiative. Yesterday only we've signed expansion MOU with Greater Noida Authority, and such a phenomenal initiative where through good surveillance models, through training of the sanitation workers, through engagement of educated citizens living in a city, how we've been able to showcase models where not only models, but I would say huge impact, where tons and tons of waste has been segregated and at least not harmed the nature, and how do we really bring about behavioral change. I think those are critical aspects. Similarly, we have environment as a vertical under our HCL grant program, and we have seen how with meticulous village development plans which have been put up with PRIs, the Panchayati Raj institutions, how we are able to completely, I would say, we get into the panchayat's agenda and bring biodiversity and environment conservation in the agenda of the local budgets. That's critical. Those are important. And now you have like acres and acres of land under community governance. And that can only happen when urban local bodies and rural local bodies, they get engaged and involved right from the beginning. Of course, these MOUs like what we have with Namami Gange or with Jal Shakti and with the local governments wherever we are working are critical. But then these are strategies to convert the agenda into reality. Let me conclude. I know the time must be short, but then I just want to conclude by saying that if you have a dream, it is bound to convert it into reality. It's important to dream first. Given the kind of resource allocation we still have under environment is very less to be able to do anything. Even if one wants to work within education or health, but if you look at the larger oneness concept, you can integrate environment, you can get sensitive towards environment, and you can look at how can you within the current strategies itself integrate the larger combating climate change work. And it's important. It's almost, it's almost like I would say a state of emergency that we have as of now. So the kind of resource allocation given together, total from the state and from corporates, is less. And I would appeal that if all actors could think about it, and as HCL Foundation will be very happy to share best practices and also some of the challenges that we've faced while creating these, these reality models, so that you need not face them. So those learnings would be critical. So let me end that, end my talk with that, and once again congratulate the team for having this critical topic here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for joining